Before we get started with this episode, we have a major favor to ask you.
If you could subscribe, like, and comment, especially with somebody that you'd love to see on the show, we would really appreciate that, and it would be amazing.
This helps us more than you know. In fact, once we hit 1,000 subscribers, and that is our goal, we are going to choose 2 of you to come to our very first Shoreline Show meetup with our team and our past guest.
And if you want more of the Shoreline Show, you can get on us on all the major audio podcast platforms.
Now, let's get on to the next episode.
Show where Shelley and I are back in the studio, and we're just talking.
Yeah.
Just talking right before this, and we actually are just kind of winging this today about a topic that we started talking about. And we were like, do we talk about it or not? And that is the war that's happening in Israel right now and Palestine against Hamas, and just kind of discussing what that looks like. And I know it's a hot topic right now and it's very controversial, but I think as friends, I think it's important that we have these topics because I think we're so steered by media and what we're told. But if we talked more amongst the people that we know and that we care about, and we built a stronger relationship, ultimately, I think we realize that the average person is good people, and they just want safe families. They want to be able to do the things that they want to do.
Yeah. Before we started recording, we're like, okay, do we really want to go there with this topic? Because it is so controversial. But
strong opinions by people.
Strong opinions. There's 2 sides to everything, and
every story has 2 sides, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm interested to hear what you have experienced and what I've experienced too. So what's really interesting is both Rennie and I have been to Israel at different times.
Yep.
And so
we both experienced different things.
Totally different things, but we were in a lot of the same areas.
Absolutely.
So you were telling me about a story of when you were there. That was really interesting. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about that?
I'll start off by saying I think Israel it definitely has a unique feel to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you got that when you were there. It's you can't explain the feeling that it has. I don't know how you explain like complete chaos but peace at the same time. How do you explain that?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the best way to explain how I felt when I was there. Mm-hmm. So for an example, would it be obviously we did all the crazy cool tourist attractions there and seen a lot of it. But one of my favorite things that we would do was a buddy of mine that I went with. He was very much go, 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 go. He's like, if you're going to travel across the world, you're definitely not sleeping. So when everybody would be going to bed at night, he's like, hey, let's go walk into Old Jerusalem at night and go into the old city and just experience it, which I thought was kind of neat. 11, 12 o'clock at night, and you would still have kids down there, and they would be worshiping at the Wailing Wall and kids playing. And I remember seeing like these kids where they would put each other, I don't know what they were doing. I don't know if it was like bar mitzvah. I don't know what it was, but they'd put each other in these chairs and hold them up and do all sorts of it was just a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. But one night, when I was hanging out down there, it was all of a sudden I got this call on my phone and I answered it, and they're like, hey, where are you? And we're like, hey, we're down by the Wailing Wall right now, just kind of hanging out, just checking things out. And they go, do you know there's a terrorist attack right now right by the Wailing Wall by the Damascus Gate? And I was like, well, I see people shuffling people out like the back area. I was like, I see that, and I've heard noises, but I guess I should have been more aware, but it's like, I didn't think anything of it. But unfortunately what happened was some Muslim kids came in, and the sad part about it is they're so young. Yeah. I think these kids were under 16 years old, and they came in and killed some 18-year-old Jewish soldiers. I think they killed one girl, and they wounded a few other people. which is a really sad topic, right? So
Right.
then you kind of look at all the tension from when I was there, and you can see how that is blowing up right now, because
Right.
you can only have tension for so long in a pop can, right? You shake
Right.
it, and that pop can's going to blow at
Yeah.
some point in time.
Yeah. That's so interesting that we were both there at different times, and we both experienced
Different.
terrorist type things that were going on.
Yeah.
And what I experienced was actually I was in the West Bank in Bethlehem. And the day that, or the week that we were there, it was 2018, and it happened to be the same day that Trump made the announcement that they were going to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Wow.
Well,
People lost their minds.
people
didn't they?
lost their minds. And what was crazy is when you were in Jerusalem,
Yep.
people were celebrating.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They were excited that that was going to be happening. At least the people that I seen
Right.
were celebrating that. But then when you went across their border into the West Bank, there was a very different feel on that whole topic. That day that they made the announcement, that night I remember my mom called me, and she was in a panic. Of course, I'm over in Israel,
Yeah.
and she's watching CNN. Bad idea. Don't watch
Yeah,
CNN. Right. But she's seeing this war zone
Right.
happening play out on CNN. And I'm like, Mom, I'm on the balcony of the hotel, and I can see what you're seeing on the news. It's like a few blocks away from the hotel where I'm at, and it's confined to one street in a little small area where they're burning tires and throwing rocks because these people are not armed.
Right.
And so the news makes it look so much different or worse than what it usually is all the time. So, so just seeing the fact that the news, you can't always believe everything that you see.
Well, I
on the
think
news.
depending on what news network you're watching,
right? Obviously,
they're going to steer it towards the agendas of what they want people to believe, and that's the
Right.
unfortunate part. That if you're watching one news network, they're gonna show it that people are bad. You watch another one, they're gonna say people are good.
Right. But the interesting thing about that whole situation is the next day, because we stayed in Bethlehem for a few days, but the next day, part of the experience is we actually got to go eat dinner in a Christian Palestinian family's home.
Right.
And they invited us in to eat dinner with them. And the husband that day he was at work during that day, and he was actually the head of some conference or something that they were doing in a local hotel.
Right.
And they're doing this conference there. A bunch of people are there for this conference. And while he's there working in this hotel, and I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was the Israeli army or who it was. They were in the West Bank. They're throwing tear gas into the hotel where they're just business people.
Right. Yeah.
Conducting business and doing whatever they're doing, and they're being attacked for no reason.
Well, I think that's the unfortunate part.
Right. So, there's all these things that happen, right? And here this poor man has to come home after being attacked to Americans eating dinner with him in his home that night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he questioned, like, at that point, I mean, your world's getting turned upside down.
Right.
I think the sad part about it is either way,
Right.
There's people that have agendas.
Mm-hmm.
We both can agree on that, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have innocent people.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to throw my convention in this hotel, and now I'm getting tear gas thrown at me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the same thing when it came to the situation that I was in, that, you know, you have innocent people just kind of hanging out. They're not doing anything,
mm-hmm.
but people that have agendas that are breeding even young kids
mm-hmm.
to want to do harm to other people.
Right.
These kids didn't come in with innocence to say, hey, I just want to come in and give donuts to people. They came in with guns, right?
Right.
Now, is some of that where it's because of what they've been through? Absolutely. I feel for those kids. Like, I don't look at those kids that did that and think anything bad of them. I think it's sad that the positions that they were put in the case that I was in. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody's winning in this situation. No. But at the same time, you know, talking to some of the Jews over there in Israel and kind of seeing their take on it, and at least my experience, if I'm going to be honest about it, was that the Jews seemed that they were trying to create peace. That was my experience.
Right.
You know, just kind of talking to them about like how they would handle a situation. So after that terrorist attack happened with me, I asked them, I was like, how do you handle that? And they go, well, it's really different. He goes, if we're caught on their side, they go, they literally will kill us. Mm-hmm. He goes, if there's a firefight here, we will actually get them the best health care we can get them and send them back. But they'll take it. So within 24 hours of that situation happening for me, they went to that family's village and they deport everybody from that family instantly.
Yeah.
Within 24 hours, they don't even go through. I don't think they even go through the court system. Those people are out of the country, and then they blow up their house so they don't have a home to come back to. Because, you know, if they come back in the country and their home exists, then they can come back there and reestablish. So in this case, that's what's happened to these kids' families, which is it's very unfortunate. But they don't want to. It didn't seem like they were trying to impose what they were doing on other people. They were just trying to hold their own, right? And say, okay, if you come and you do something to us, there is going to be a retaliation. That's kind of the experience that I had with it.
Right.
Now, there might be situations on that I don't understand.
Yeah.
That's just my perspective when I was there of like what that looks like. I think, yeah, it's tough. I think either way, innocent people and young kids are getting harmed by this.
Yeah.
So what is the answer is the question. And I don't think there's a peaceful answer.
I don't have an answer.
I don't either.
Yeah.
To me, I think the smart thing would be to, and I think if the example I have is if you're going to continue to do what you're doing, you have to find a way of peace. Mm-hmm. And I don't see how that would happen in the future.
Yeah. I honestly don't see how, with the way things are going right now, I don't see how it can come to a peaceful conclusion. I just think about, the Palestinians that are either in the West Bank or in the Gaza Strip, same thing. They're prisoners in their own country. They have no freedom.
Well, nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. And, I can't imagine the frustration that they have. But at the same time, I, being a Christian and knowing what the Bible teaches on how the Jewish people were given that land, that was the promised land that they were given.
It's interesting how at least that's the perspective, is how biblical prophecy is playing out to be true. Although we can deny it, and people can, it's definitely, it's happening exactly like the Bible says it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Which is it's sad in some ways, but we know that it's a tough situation. You feel bad for the people. I think my goal, for this podcast episode would be to kind of see both ends. You're seeing your end where you have innocent Palestinian people that are having tear gas thrown in, and this guy's just like, I'm just trying to live my peaceful life.
Right.
And then on my end, when I'm there, I'm watching these people, and they're turning around and saying, all we're trying to do is just try to keep peace, and we have 15 and 14-year-old kids with fully automatics coming and doing things.
Yeah.
The question is there a way to keep everybody at peace? And is there, but I don't think anybody wants that. It ultimately comes down to, it's no different than MLS controls for you, right? Like you look at, like, you kind of joking around, but bring it back to like real estate a little bit. One of the biggest issues is, like, we're always talking about, like, why can't we have one MLS?
Right.
Well, it's because you have associations that, especially the smaller ones, that want full control over everything, and they know that they want control over their piece of the pie, but they're not looking at the greater good for every single person. So it's kind of like the same situation, I think, with Israel. Now, from my understanding, is Israel, they didn't, when they took over that area, it wasn't like they were like, hey, we're going to come into that area intentionally and take over. They were aggressive towards them, and they basically said, hey, we're going to go, and we need you guys to leave the area, and we're going to go to war with Israel. And when we go to war with Israel, not only will you get your home back, you'll get your Jewish neighbor's house back, because we're going to win. Well, we know how that played out. They didn't win. And Israel dominated the land, and then they took it over. And some. So the question would be, if you come at me and I win, am I supposed to, like, what am I supposed to do with that information? Like, knowing that you're going to come back and do it again,
Yeah.
Is there ever enough? Is there? I don't know. I don't have the answer for that.
Yeah. Why can't we all just get along?
Well, I think that's
And
the
that's
answer.
in every facet of life. So, like, it's not just Palestinian.
It's Democrats and
Jewish.
Republicans.
Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah.
White people, black people, Latinos.
All of it.
Asian.
Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Just kidding.
Exactly. Everything.
I think it comes down to the fall of man in the beginning.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You look from the very beginning, and God was like, hey, you can have this whole garden, you can have everything, but stay away from this one thing. And we're like, no, we want everything, and we want all the way down to, and we want to be God. I think that the issue you run into is this war, which most people aren't recognizing, is this war stems all the way back from biblical principles of the chosen against the, you look at, Muslims will agree to this. It comes back to Ishmael and Isaac, right? The Bible story is, if you guys want to know what's going on, it's two brothers still fighting to this day.
Right.
It's Ishmael, right? And you have Isaac, and they're playing out and fighting to this day. And to me, I find that very interesting, that war is still going on between two brothers right now.
Right.
That's a wild story to think about.
Yeah.
And innocent people are caught in the middle of two brothers that are fighting. And, it'll be just interesting to see what happens. I'm really interested to see how the community and how you guys react to this. I'll be interested to see what your guys' thoughts. I don't think anybody, I will have a disclaimer here, and I'm sure Shelley will agree to this. I don't have a strong opinion either way. because I do understand that I'm seeing it from my perspective from on the other side of the world. I was there.
Yeah.
I have experiences when I was there. Shelley has experiences when we were there.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see if you guys comment on your experience when you were there. But I will say that I do love Israel. I think it's a beautiful country. I think that you just want safe families. You want people to live in peace.
Right.
But it goes back to originally what I talked about is you either choose, and I think sometimes we choose the wrong thing, but if you want safety, doesn't mean you always have freedom.
Right.
And you can't have both typically. So the question would be is, do you want safety or do you want freedom? And if you want safety, that ultimately means a lot of control and dominance over what you're doing, right? I want safety. Let's get rid of guns. Let's chip every single human so your kids don't get kidnapped. Like seriously, that's safety, right?
Yeah.
But then you don't have any freedom.
Yeah.
You don't have any freedom. So and ultimately, what does ultimate control lead to? This is deep, but it's true, and that's what it's coming down to. And we're the world we're going into, and Israel's seeing it first. It might happen. I'm sure it's happening right now, and it is happening. Ukraine and Russia. Does it happen in China and Taiwan? Where does it happen? But the ultimate war is going to come down to is: do you want freedom? Or do you want peace, or and security? You can't have both. It's just it's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, freedom's not free.
Freedom is not free. Thank God to all our troops out there, for real. Like you know, when you start to think about these things, you are so grateful for our military that we're still, as the U.S., we still hold authority and we still have the opportunity to have the freedom of the freedoms that we do have. And it's because there's guys out there that are willing, and girls that are willing to take the front charge and
Even
really.
though it feels like some of it is eroding away, we are still free.
Yeah, and I think the way is because of those people. I don't think it can go away. I mean, the American people still have to the core who they are. They're a little bit nuts. They are. We're willing to go. At the end of the day, I think we're all willing to lay our lives down for our freedoms. Yeah. And whatever that may mean, freedom of religion. It might be, hey, you know, it doesn't mean necessarily Christianity. It might be if you're Muslim and you live in the United States, at least you can come here and you have that right, but don't try to take that right from us, you know?
Right. Well, and I think that's the cool thing about America is because we want everybody to be able to practice their religion, whatever religion that is. Yeah. We want everybody, no matter what skin color they have, to be able to be here and to flourish. Are there bad things that happen and hold people back in different areas? Are people persecuted because of their religion, or their skin color, or their belief system? Yes, but for the most part, we are allowed to have our opinions and to state what it is that we believe.
I mean, we even have basic freedoms that we don't think about. And I actually thought about it a few years ago, which was this is going to be kind of weird, but I was sick and I was at home and I got to thinking about as I'm vomiting in this toilet, right? And you're going to laugh, but it's seriously.
That was kind of graphic.
No, but seriously, hear me out here. And I'm like, what if I was in North Korea right now? Mm-hmm. Would I even be able to do this? Like, seriously, like if you're sick, let's say you're sick right now, you can go and you can sleep in bed and you can take the day to be sick. What if I told you you can't? You have cancer, you're puking, your brain's out, and whatever it may be, and you don't even have the right to even stop what you're doing, or you can get killed for it. We don't even think about that, you know what I mean? And I got to thinking about that. I was like, wow, we have a lot of freedoms. We have the freedoms to be sick. We can actually like sit and take a minute to have a glass of water when we're done, and like it's crazy to think about, right? And I don't know why I thought about that at that time, but I'm like, dang, you have to be grateful for the country that we live in.
Yeah.
I know it's a little
and
bit
we're in
weird,
that season
but
too, to be grateful for
definitely
for everything.
definitely.
So, yeah.
Well, again, I think it would be really great to hear from you guys and see what your thoughts are. I think a community of people having dialogue, healthy dialogue. I don't want to hear I don't think it's good to hear from people and like don't throw hate things out there. But if you guys have some healthy dialogue that you'd like to have with us,
Right.
I'd be really interested in taking it in from our community to see what you guys think. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish we could solve all the problems.
I wish we could,
probably
too.
won't be able to.
Yeah.
But I think just talking about it and loving your neighbor, no matter who
That's
they
where
are.
it starts. Love your neighbor.
Love your neighbor.
I agree.
Yep.
Another biblical principle.
Have a great day,
Have a great
everyone.
day.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.